How's it going, guys? My name is Stone, and I'm back with another video. Today, I'm going to be talking about an album that I discovered quite recently, yet have had trouble putting down ever since discovering it. Breakfast in America by Supertramp. Now, this album features just the kind of music I've been looking for, as it combines the complexities and other elements of progressive rock with the accessibility of pop rock, which makes for a much easier listen compared to something like, I don't know, brain salad surgery or something like that. There are many pop hits on this album, such as the title track and "Take the Long Way Home." The grandiosity and spirit put into every single track on this album really raised my standards for what I thought pop music could be. I think Breakfast in America is a perfect start for someone wanting to expand their musical taste towards a 70s pop rock sound, as as it definitely shows how this genre, and Supertramp of course, can blend moving lyrics and melodic hooks with some exhilarating instrumentation that sounds similar to hard rock at some points throughout the album. There are just so many outstanding tracks on here, so I will just start with the first song, go track by track, and then give my final thoughts at the end of the video. Now, we begin Breakfast in America with Gone Hollywood. This is a great opener, one of the heavier songs on here, heavy to the compared to everything else on this album, that is. I love how this track starts off very strong with its hard rock riff seen in the verses, yet the saxophone and piano melody that's in the chorus are able to slow things down without adding too much contrast to was heard in the beginning. But then the drums come back in and add even more energy to the track towards the latter half of the song. It's just an excellent opener and a personal favorite of mine, as this is one of the first songs I heard on this album. Then we get to the logical song, which is beautifully sung by Roger Hodgkins, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, which also includes some thought-provoking lyrics and some excellent drum fills. This was, I think, the band's highest charting single in the US, which doesn't surprise me at all. I feel like if someone told me about that fact about any song on this album, it wouldn't really surprise me because all these songs are really good and have the accessibility to be on the charts, in my opinion. But then we get to, if I had to pick my number one song on here, it would probably have to be this one. There's a lot of favorites I have, but this track being Goodbye Stranger, the one that's currently playing. Now, this track to me seems to capture everything amazing about this album in just 6 minutes, with that vocal duo between Hodgkins and Rick Davies just dominating the atmosphere of this track. And once it gets into that mind melting guitar solo, it just ends the song on such a high note. Definitely my favorite vocal performance on here, which is something to say because they're all really tight on this album. We then get to the title track, Breakfast in America, which is another hit single by the band, but though it is shorter, it's just as sweet as the songs previous to it, as it has a very melodic vocal performance and a great use of brass instruments throughout the track. Side A then closes with the groovy yet fantastic track Oh Darlin', and yeah, it concludes the first side of this album very, very well. It's just a really laid back song that has a melody that's very upbeat and uplifting and just makes for a great listen to on a nice summer day, or just makes for some nice feel good music. At least for me, it does. Take the Long Way Home then starts off side 2 with incredible harmonica performance, which leads into another fantastic vocal performance by Hodgkins. And while this is a great example of his songwriting skills, I think the next track really shows off how impressive his vocal range is and the talent behind his lyricism. And this track I'm referring to is Lord Isn't Mine. And this song to me has got to be the most emotional piece on this album, as Hodgkins' balladry can be overwhelmingly beautiful and heart-wrenching at times. And especially when he sings that final verse, that part always gets to me. The progression throughout this track is just really good and incredible, honestly. The beauty that I hear on here can be hard to describe, so I definitely recommend you check it out and see if you have the same thoughts I do. It did take me a couple listens, however. Like most things, it's hard for me to get emotionally connected to a song right off the bat, but it's definitely a treat. Davey then follows this track with Just Another Nervous Wreck, which has much more of a hard rock energy to it, and a chorus that seems to literally rock me back and forth because I just find it very catchy, very energetic. But even with this, there are also some lyrics that I find quite touching, and the way that Davey sings these lyrics roughly yet with emotion helps this track stand out among the rest of the songs on this album. The next track, Casual Conversations, follows up this with much more of a relaxed and slower sound that reminds me of yacht rock, honestly. It may be much slower compared to everything else on this album, but it is definitely necessary to the flow of this album, and would and I would consider the ending of the song to be one of the best moments on the entire record. Well, I mean, I wouldn't. If I had to say a least favorite song of mine, it might be this one, but it's by no means a bad track. It's because I find myself going back to it more and more as I've been reviewing this album. We then get to the epic conclusion that is Child of Vision. Now, the energy on this track, honestly, I'll match anything on this album. With that intense piano work backed by some consistent drumming, just going into the verses and choruses or like perfectly, honestly. And the piano instrumentation that takes the second half of this song seems to lift the listener away and let them soar through what would be the last few minutes of Breakfast in America. And that would unfortunately be the final track on this incredible album. I find Breakfast in America to be a phenomenal collection of music from beginning to end, and I really can't see a weak or dull moment on this album. Every track on here really stands out on its own, yet when put together, they create a story of music that can be interpreted in many ways. I remember listening to this from beginning to end for the first time, and it made me think if it was a concept album, because honestly, these lyrics seem to follow the same energy or same atmosphere to it. Yeah, like I said, I find the lyrics on Breakfast in America to be very moving, but not without the amazing talent put behind every instrument on this album. And that's it. Those are my final thoughts on the album. I don't know what else to say about this masterpiece because it's something you have to check out for yourself. If you haven't heard it, definitely listen to it. I highly recommend it. Out of all the albums I reviewed, it's the most accessible, so that gives it a thumbs up in my opinion. And I appreciate you guys watching. I hope you subscribe if you're into it, and I'll be trying to post more videos more often. Again, I might be talking about more heavy psychedelic music, because that's what I've been listening to a lot lately. So hopefully you're into it. Anywho, hope you guys have a good day, and thanks for watching.